Good afternoon. I'm Julie Revis with the California Medical Association, and I'd like to thank you for attending today's webinar, CURES 2.0, Navigating the State's New Prescription Drug Monitoring Database. Please submit your questions as you have them by using the question box in the control panel located on the right-hand side of your screen. I will collect the questions and ask them today at the end of the session. Earlier today, I emailed a copy of today's presentation. If you'd like me to resend this, please let me know by using the question box, and I'll send it out immediately. And again, I apologize for the delay. We had some technical difficulties, but I'd like to introduce you to today's presenters from the Department of Justice. Austin Weaver is the Associate Governmental Program Analyst with CURES, and Emer McKenna is the Data Processing Manager 3 for the Criminal Justice Information Technology Services Bureau. And Mike Small is the manager over the Law Enforcement Support Program, which oversees CURES 2.0. With this, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Julie, and good afternoon, everyone. CURES is the Controlled Substance Utilization Review and Evaluation System is authorized by California Health and Safety Code 11165 and subsequent sections, in which CURES for the state of California stores and reports Schedule 2, 3, and 4 prescription dispensation reports as reported to DOJ by dispensers. The data that is in CURES reflects the dispensing information exactly as it is reported to DOJ. We do not touch that data. We don't add, modify, or delete anything to that prescription report, and that's necessary for legal purposes. The pharmacy or the direct dispenser are the creators and owners of the prescription record information submitted to DOJ. DOJ is a custodian of these aggregated records, but DOJ does not, again, I emphasize, does not edit or touch these records. Therefore, any record that you as a prescriber perceive as inaccurate is a matter between you and the reporting pharmacy. The pharmacy has the authority to correct their records within the DOJ system, and they are the appropriate entity to make any such modifications, deletions, or corrections. Pharmacies and direct dispensers are required to report their dispensations at least on a weekly basis within 7 days. And CURES is the largest prescription drug monitoring program in the state, in the sense that in terms of volume, we get approximately 1 million scripts reported to us per week, which is larger even than New York. CURES retains information, the reported information, for 7 years, and we retain de-identified data sets that are created out of the information indefinitely for research purposes. There are 3 principal missions for CURES as articulated in 11165 of the Health and Safety Code. First and foremost, it's to assist the clinical community in efforts to ensure appropriate prescribing and dispensing of controlled substances. Secondarily, DOJ is to assist law enforcement and regulatory agencies in their efforts to control diversion and abuse of narcotic drugs. This, in fact, is CURES' original mission. DOJ, in fact, has had the longest running prescription drug monitoring program in the country. It started in 1939, where we were collecting Schedule 2 drug information for counter-diversion purposes, and has continued to this day, where we hopefully in the mid to long term, the health epidemic with respect to overdose and injuries and deaths will diminish and even go away, and hopefully CURES would be able to finish its mission for the healthcare community by virtue of a universal healthcare record that would naturally have that data aggregated in lieu of CURES. I'm looking forward to that day, but we will always have a counter-diversion mission, and a very important mission because, as you know, diversion has always been a problem in California. And lastly, CURES is to support research, education, and epidemiological analysis and data analysis for efforts that are aimed at mitigating the epidemic. The CURES 2.0, introduced this January, features a number of improved features that the old 1.0 system did not have. CURES 1.0 basically presented up to a year's worth of a patient activity report to the prescriber and dispenser to help them safely complete their medical tasks. The new system offers a few more features, which I will go into in detail a little bit later to follow after we introduce the registration process to you. It's important to note that due to the heightened security needs for the CURES 2.0 system, that access to CURES 2.0 can only be made via the following browsers, and that's Internet Explorer version 11 or later, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, or Safari. Access to CURES data will continue to be made available to any and all users, registered users of the system, regardless of what browser they have. Our system will discern the browser the user is signing into the system with, and if it's an older, less secure browser, we'll route you to the old CURES 1.0 system where you can get that patient activity data to help assist you contemplate your prescriptions. If you have the newer browsers, the CURES will direct you to the new CURES 2.0 application, and you'll be able to enjoy the more advanced features of the system. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Emer McKenna to describe the registration process for you.
So the first part of the registration process you'll be is to go to the registration link, and the registration link can be found on the CURES homepage. On this screen you'll see that the URL, the link for the CURES homepage is oag.ca.gov/CURES. And that page gives you all the information you need with respect to CURES 2.0, including links to frequently asked questions and some training videos and publications. Now the CURES 2.0 registration link is found on the right-hand side, so if you click that, it will bring you into the registration process. The first part of that process is validating and verifying your email address. So this screen, the user registration page, walks you through that. So the first thing you'll do is in the user role section is you will select whether you're a prescriber or a dispenser. And once you do that, then you'll select who your license was issued by, whether it was the California Department of Consumer Affairs or an agency outside of California. So you would click one or the other of those buttons. Then you would enter your email address and then enter it again so that the system can make sure that you're sending us the same email or the correct email address. This email address is very important because that's what will be used to send communications to you, so such as your user ID or your password. So it's important that it's a valid email address. And then at the bottom of the screen you'll see a thing that's called CAPTCHA, and what that is basically making sure that you're not a robot. So what you will do is enter in the text that you see in the image, and you'll type that text in. If you can't see the image clearly, the image that's on the screen at the moment says 2018, so you type those numbers in. If you can't see it, you can click the CAPTCHA, the circle here. So if you click that, it will present another image. You can keep clicking that until you find one that you can actually see clearly. And once you've entered all of that information, then you would click Submit. and the submit button is at the bottom of the screen. So then you will receive a confirmation message on your screen, and that will let you know that you will receive an email from the CURES program within a day. The email sometimes appears or gets sent to people's junk email folder, so you'll want to make sure that you check. If you don't see an email in your inbox, you should check your junk email folder. The email will come from CURES registration at doj.ca.gov. So that's the email address that it will be the sender. The information, whenever you do receive the email, it will provide a link. It's blanked out on this screen, but the link will take you to the registration process so that you can complete your application. The registration page is split into two sections. It's hard to read from the screen, but don't worry, we're going to move into discuss each section in a couple of slides. So the first section is the application information, and then the second section is the security questions. At this point, it's good to point out that the security that surrounds CURES 2.0 is an enhanced security system, and it's a departmental solution that we have in place that sits in front of CURES. And it, because of the nature of the data that's stored within the CURES application, patient information, so we take the security very seriously, so that fronts that part of the application. So the registration form, the application information section, at this point it's really important that the information that you enter here matches what DCA and DEA has on record for you. If it doesn't match, then your application may potentially will be denied. So take your time when you're filling out these text boxes and make sure that the information is accurate. So you would put your title in, your first name, last name, any of the fields that have a red asterisk beside it, that indicates that it's a required field, so you have to put that information there. So first name and last name, your date of birth. Now the social security number and the individual tax identification number, you select one of those options. So again, it's important to note that if your licensing board has on record for you that you're using your social security number with your license, then that's what you would enter in this box. If the licensing board has that you're using your individual tax identification number, then you would enter that instead. Okay. And then as we move down to the application information, you'll see that there's a section that says license type, licensing board. So you would select your license type. The drop-down, the arrow here present a drop-down of options for you. So for example, if you're a medical doctor, you could have type A, C, or G, so you would select that license type here. Then you would select your licensing board, and then in the state license number, if you would enter numerics only, so only numbers are allowed in this field. So if you have a license of A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your license type, you would select A in the license type field, and then you would enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the state license number field. And then to make sure that the information that you entered is correct, you will re-enter the license number again in this field, in the re-enter state license number field, and then you enter your DEA number. So then now we're on to the security questions page. The top part of this page will give you instructions as to what valid answers you can enter or are allowed in the answer text boxes. So you're going to be asked for 5 security questions and then 2 help desk questions. The help desk questions will be used if you call our help desk and you need to get assistance into the system. We need to be able to verify that you are who you say you are, so that's what those questions will be used for. and the security questions will be used for resetting passwords. So the security questions, it's important to pay attention to the instructions at the top, because that will really help guide you on how to answer those. And you really need to remember your answers. Make sure you remember your answers, because that will help you. If you forget your password later, then you'll be able to use the online reset password functionality, and you won't have to rely on calling us for assistance with that. So the security questions, it's really important that you remember the answers that you give and the questions that you select. The answers, for example, if you're asked for what is the name of your childhood pet, and you type in pet as the answer, that won't be accepted, because the word pet is in the name, or is in the question. But all of that is explained in the instructions above. And another thing is you can't use the same answer for all your questions. So just pay attention to that, and make sure you are answering questions that you will know the answer to down the line. So once you've done that, you're given a chance to review your information. This is your opportunity to check each of the fields, the first name, last name, all of the fields and the information that you've entered, and make sure that it's accurate and it matches what DCA and DEA have on file for you. Again, if it doesn't match, then the application will be denied, because our system sends it to DCA and they come back and tell us whether or not it's accepted. So check and double check, and then read the terms and conditions, and then at the very bottom you'll certify that you have read the terms and conditions in the user agreement. Once you're happy with everything, then you just click the submit button at the bottom of the screen, and it will take you to a confirmation page. We ask you to print this confirmation page for your records. You'll have a confirmation number that appears, which will be helpful if you call our help desk, and they'll be able to locate your application. It also allows you, in the event that your application is denied, then if you have a printout of this screen, it'll allow you to verify the information again. An approval or denial notification will be sent to you via email within 24 to 48 hours. And in 24 to 48 hours, you'll receive an email, and in that email it will contain your user ID, so that's the username that you'll log on to our system with, and a link for identification validation. So the link will appear towards the bottom of the email, and so you'll look at your user ID and remember that, because that's what you'll be using to log on to the system. Then click the link, and it will bring you to a page that will allow you to set up or answer your security questions, because you're going to be setting up a temporary password. So you enter your username, click OK, then answer the security questions. So again, the security questions that you set up previously, you'll have to know the answers to those right now. So you'll be asked your question, and you just put in your answer 1, 2, and 3, and then you will click OK. And then you will be sent another email, and it will contain a temporary password and a link to the CURES 2.0 login. So the temporary password will appear in the email, and then you will click the link to log into CURES 2.0. You enter your user ID where it says username, you would enter that into that box, and then where it says password, you would enter your temporary password, and then click login. And then for the first time that you log in, you will be asked to reset your password. The password policy, the instructions on what you can actually set your password to, appears in the middle of the screen. So it's important for you to read that. And if you're having problems trying to reset your password, it's probably because it's not meeting the password policy. but the system will let you know that. So you enter your password, confirm your password, and then again we have CAPTCHA at the bottom of the screen. The numbers in this CAPTCHA image, it says 7921, and if you can't read it, you can press the CAPTCHA button to refresh it. Once you've done that, you are prompted to complete your user profile information. So required fields that you need to fill out at this part of the registration process for the user profile are your phone type, and your address information. So you've got phone here, and then the address information will be here under the address section. And that section, if you expand that section, it will bring you to a screen that you see on this page. To edit, you click the little icon that looks like a pencil. You click that, and then you enter your address information. And once you are happy with that the information is accurate and correct, you click the checkbox here that says, the checkbox beside this, there will be a checkbox that appears here, and you will just click the checkbox and it will save your address information. And once you've done that, you are an approved, your application is approved, and you're now registered to use the CURES 2.0 system. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Mike Small again, and he's going to talk to you about the CURES 2.0 user features.
So once you're into the new CURES 2.0 system, you're going to notice, let me just highlight 4 features that did not exist in the CURES 1.0. The first is delegation authority. Prescribers and dispensers both are going to be able to assign delegates who, and you can do this in the user, it's very easy to do within the user profile section that Emer was just talking about. At the very bottom of that screen, there's the delegation section that you could expand, and you could simply enter a name and email address for a person you would like to act as your delegate. That person will be taken through an abbreviated registration process where he or she will simply provide some security question answers and then get a username and password, so that person can log in and then launch inquiries on the prescribers or dispensers' behalf. The responses to those inquiries will go back to the prescribers or dispensers account, so you'll have to log in to see those responses, but the delegate can at least do that, perform that tedium of launching the inquiry on your behalf. Also, compact flagging. Prescribers who have patients with whom they have treatment exclusivity compacts can, at their discretion, notate and flag those persons within the CURES system. So if that patient who is supposed to only be seeing the physician with whom he has the compact, and whenever drugs are sought, does present himself to another prescriber or a dispenser seeking drugs that may not be in his best best interest from you, the compact doctor's perspective, others can become aware of that with this flag. If they were to inquire CURES on this patient and they see they have this flag, they'd be able to see that this patient should be seeing you and you only in terms of seeking prescriptions. The peer-to-peer communication functionality. Say you do encounter a flagged patient or you get an alert that we'll talk about in a moment on a patient, you can immediately send a message to that other prescriber about the patient presenting himself to you. So you can have within the secure CURES system, closed system, an ability to immediately communicate with other clinicians who are not necessarily in your own healthcare system, within your own email system. And then lastly, the patient safety alerts messaging provides certain safety messaging alerts to prescribers when patients whom they have active prescriptions with, that is prescriptions that have not yet expired, exceed various thresholds that you should be made aware of. Oftentimes in our business analysis, we found that it's very potential for a prescriber to safely prescribe on day 1, and then on day 2, 3, and 4, that patient goes to other prescribers and obtains other prescriptions. And then aggregately, unbeknownst to the individual prescribers, aggregately a potentially dangerous threshold of accumulated drugs might result. And this acts as a kind of a safety net rearview mirror for you to let you know when patients have received those additional prescriptions and reach those thresholds. And again, the peer-to-peer communication is available to you if you would like to communicate with the other prescribers about that patient's therapy level. On the patient's, the various patient safety messages that are calculated every night. So we get 1/7 of a million new prescriptions each night into CURES. We recalculate the entire CURES database, deduplicate the individuals, and then parse out only their current prescriptions, and then calculate the therapy levels of those prescriptions. And when they meet these 5 thresholds, then alert results to each one of the prescribers who has an active prescription with that patient ongoing. And the first alert would be when a patient's aggregate therapy level exceeds 100 morphine milligram equivalents per day. Another alert would be when the patient is exhibiting a prescription-seeking behavior where he's seen 6 or more prescribers or 6 or more pharmacies during the last 6 months. Another alert would be if that patient is aggregately receiving more than 40 MMEs of methadone daily. And another alert would be if the patient has been prescribed opioids for more than 90 consecutive days amongst all his aggregated prescriptions. And then lastly, we have an alert for each patient who is being currently prescribed both benzodiazepines and opioids. So the hope is that these alerts can make you aware of situations you would not otherwise be aware of by providing these after-the-fact calculations and message delivery to you. And we're very hopeful that this is going to be extremely helpful to you in not only prescribing safely, but monitoring the safe therapy levels of your patients. And with that, I'm going to allow Austin Weaver to help drive us through the new CURES 2.0 look and feel.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to quickly orient you to the CURES 2.0 application. This is the login page, and you can get to it through our CURES website where there's a link, or you can use the URL that's listed there. We would recommend that you bookmark that URL to use it going forward. And while I'm on this page, let me note to the forgot password, forgot your user ID sections down here. From outside the system, if you've forgotten those, click forgot your user ID, and what you'll do is you'll enter your email address on record with CURES, and your user ID will be emailed to you. If you've forgotten your password, or both, but if you've forgotten your password, at that point you click forgot your password, and it's going to, the system will ask you to answer 3 of the challenge questions that you set up during registration, and you'll enter those. Those are not case sensitive, and provided you get those correctly, you'll have a temporary password sent to you via email, and then when you log back in with that, you'll have to create a unique password for yourself. The CURES 2.0 dashboard is the home page for CURES 2.0, and it's the page you'll land on each time you log into CURES. I'm going to walk quickly through each of the sections on this page, but we'll get into most of these in more detail. The favorite section at the top is going to be either searches you've both saved and designated that you want to be in this section on your home page for quick access and running of patients. These might be patients you see frequently. It's also the place where delegate-initiated patient activity reports that have been run by delegates for you will land. And so you can run those from this spot as well. We'll explain delegates more later. The next section down is the alerts. You see the 5 black boxes right here. These essentially are the keys for the alerts. If you hover over those, you'll get a description of the triggering scenario for that alert. Below that, you'll see rows of patients, and next to it, numbers indicating which of the triggering scenarios or which of the alerts they've triggered. And you'll see a little spot right here. If you click on that magnifying glass, what will open up would be another little description of exactly the nature of those alerts that they've triggered. Prescriber messages is below. We'll discuss that. But if someone from within the system, a prescriber or dispenser, has sent a message to you, it'll appear in that section. Bulletins and advisories are just important DOJ communications to you. And then statistics, which we won't get into right now, but available statistics from us would be posted there. This is just to make a note, at the top of all the pages is this right here. That's going to be your navigation menu bar, and it's going to be the primary way through which you'll navigate CURES 2.0. And below each of them are drop-downs you see. User profile has profile, manage delegate, change password, PAR has patient activity, and manage the searches. We'll get to those, but I just want to give you a good sense of how you want to navigate through the CURES 2.0 database. Also, prescription form theft and loss. We won't get into that today, but that's just an easy place for you to send reports if you've lost or had stolen blank prescription pads. So let's run a PAR and show you how that would occur. To run a PAR, you first get to it in one of two ways. From the navigation menu, you see the drop down there, patient activity report. You click it there. That's the top red arrow. The next arrow down is in the favorite section. You see a link to create new patient activity report. You can click either of those. They'll get you to the same place right here. This is the patient activity search page. So I want to note one thing on this page before I get to it. You'll see the tab features at the top right here. What you will find is sometimes in these kinds of systems, if you click if you move to a new page, it'll redirect you to something new, to a different page, and then you'll struggle to get back to where you were, whether it's having to hit a back button that then produces an arrow or something like that. This is set up so that once you've proceeded to the steps, you can tab back to the preceding steps very easily on the same page. So that's just something I want to point out to you. Moving down to the search criteria, I'll make a quick comment. It says load save searches right here. We're going to get into how to save a search, but one of the ways in which you can load those saved searches is to come right to this page, and from this drop-down, select the search which you'll have titled, and it'll pre-populate, auto-populate all those fields as you've set up. So to run a PAR, you're going to have to enter either the first or last name and the date of birth. There's additional fields you can select to narrow it down, but I wouldn't narrow it too much without having first run a search to see if you're getting more than, let's say, the results you would want. For instance, I see some dispensaries, they do occasionally indicate a male patient to be female. If you click the gender male, you're going to miss that individual. So just keep that in mind. Below you can see a search mode. Partial match is what it's set to. You can make an exact match. I usually start with partial match. I find that to be a little better in terms of trying to identify all dispensations to a given person. Search by time. Below that, you can search by period in months, and you can search 12 months, but or you can search 3, whatever you'd like. So select the number of months you want there. Date range is a specific date you might want, January 1st of this year to today's date. That's what you'd enter if you wanted to use date range. So actually, once you hit the search button on this page, it's going to bring you here. The top of this page is it's going to be the search criteria. It's going to list them there. If you don't get any research, you might want to take a look at that and say, did I enter something wrong? Did I transpose the first and last name? But below that, you're going to see the results table. And you're going to see a series of rows. The statute that dispensers work off of in terms of what they report to us does not contain a unique identifier such as a social security number. So what that means is when the system receives records, and let's say the person provides an address, one dispenser provides an address, 98 Boxwood Lane, and another provides 98 Boxwood Lane, apartment 231. The system is going to read those as potentially 2 different people. It's not going to make the assumption. So what's going to happen here is you're going to get all the possible search results that would match the search criteria generality that you selected above. And you're going to want to go through this row. This is a page you want to spend a minute or 2 on, or a few seconds actually, and scroll through it and say, which of these, let me get that cursor, which of these rows show a patient entity that I think is actually my patient. Now, if you search it broadly, let's say you searched J. Smith, you might get back Jennifer Smith, Jenny Smith, John Smith, and you may immediately realize those are not going to be my patient. And in that case, you can either just check the box that you want the details for, or you can go back and hit Revise Search, and you can narrow your search down further by selecting, let's say, John Smith, or selecting a city if all of his results will be the same city. You can also select all results using this button. And a quick note, if you do go back a few times and modify the search to the point where it just has everything you want and you don't want to go through that process again, you might choose to select Save Search at this point, and that's going to give you a pop that will allow you to name the search, and that specific criteria will be saved there for future reference. So you select who you want here, and you're going to click View Details. That's going to bring you, we're moving now to the next tab you see here, the Details tab. This is the carousel up here, and the result number 1, 2, and 3, what those are is for each row you selected on the preceding page, it's going to give you a unique result here that's going to show you the name and address configuration. And that's going to correspond to this row down here. So you see these first 3 are going to be from this name and address. Well, the second will be down here, will be from the number 1 result. And you can scroll across here vertically and horizontally to see the additional fields here. You can sort in ascending or descending using these buttons. And if you want to search for a specific drug like Oxycontin, you can put Oxy right here, and it's going to sort that for you. So at this point, you're going to see a print par and a download par. Certainly, you can just look at this if you want. If you choose print par, it's going to be the standard official PDF par you're used to seeing. It's the same thing you see 1.0. There are some new additional fields, but the print par feature is going to have the same standard fields you've seen with an 8.5 by 11 pre-formatted page. It can only have so many data columns. There are some new data columns, and if you use the download, this is a download par, which is a new feature, so you can download the par into an Excel format. May be useful to use if you want to hide some columns and make it more effective for your purposes. Then you click Download Par. This next screen I'm going to show you, these are the different data columns. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but the ones with an asterisk next to them are those that are contained on the Excel spreadsheet. So if those are important to you, you might want to use the Download Excel spreadsheet option instead of Print Par. But basically, it's got drug information, patient information, pharmacy and doctor information, the payment method, prescription information, and species code if an animal is involved. Contacts and messaging is the last tab here. There's 2 features involved there. If you want to get to the contacts and messaging, what you're going to do is you see the lower red arrow, you're going to click on View Prescriber Contact, and that's going to jump you to this page here. And there are 2 features on this page. One is Contacts, and that's, Mike talked about that earlier. That's if you have a treatment exclusivity agreement with a patient, perhaps they're seeing you for some sort of addiction medicine setting, and they're only going to get methadone or, let's say, any scheduled drugs from you. What you could do is set a compact here and select that button right there, and then it would provide your information down there as the prescriber with whom this patient has a compact. And when users log in the future, they'll see there is a compact in place for this patient. You also can deselect it there to remove the patient compact. Patient prescribing messaging, prescriber messaging is the next feature on this page. And what this section is going to show is for all the users, for all the prescribers who are in the CURES system, and therefore we have their information, and prescribed to this patient within the search time frame that you performed in the search, they'll be listed here, and they'll provide their name and information there. If you want to send a message to all of them, you just enter the information here and send a message. And what that will appear is on the dashboard. I'll show you prescriber messaging. For them, it'll appear on that page. If there's just one prescriber you want to contact and they're a CURES user, and again, therefore we have their information, you can reach out to them using this information. We talked about Save Search on this page. This is just, you press that button and you title your search that you want to save, the search criteria, and it's in one of two places. One is the one I showed you on the search page, Load Save Search. You would select it. The other is from the PAR drop-down, you see Manage Save Searches. And that page, that is going to bring up this page. We're just going to have a table of all your saved searches. And you see there's a column there that says Save to Your Favorites, yes or no. This is where you'd add it to that favorite section on the dashboard. You go down here and you click, this is going to say no, you click it yes, and then it would change to Save Search. You can also delete your Save Search on this page by clicking in the row and clicking Delete there. Profile, I'll cover this quickly. This is something we kind of touched upon during the registration section, but one of the features of CURES 2.0 is that you can manage your own profile information. If you open this up, you're going to see it has an accordion style format here. You can open and close each of these or open them all right here using Expand All. And when you click Edit, any fields that can be edited will turn into editable fields for you to edit. By the way, to note, so if your email address, for example, changes, you don't need to contact us. You can change it right here. Delegations are down there. Just a number, an address, fewer things you need to reach out to us, and more things you can do on your own. Manage delegates. What delegates are, these are people, and they can be anyone that you want, and then you're going to invite them to be delegates, and what they can do is they can initiate a PAR for you. So they'd go in and select the criteria. We walked through that process earlier, and then they would decide, they would select who the parent prescriber or dispenser is that they're initiating this PAR for. They'd pick that person, and what the search would be sent to that parent prescriber or dispenser's dashboard under Favorites, where you would just click Run, and then it would bring up the results there. So if you go to Manage Delegates, you'll see the Delegates tab there, another tab feature. All the delegates will be listed there, and you can delete them, do whatever you want here. You see the Add button next to that. If you click the Add button, you'll just enter the first name, last name, email address, and you will have to certify that you understand you're responsible for the actions of the delegate. The delegates do not see the results of the search. Just to be clear, those results come to you as someone who's authorized under the statute to see the data, but they are prompting the search for you when it's ending up on your dashboard. A couple of final notes. Password, for security purposes, password resets are required every 90 days. This is just a quick reference we discussed earlier as the password requirements. You will get emails when you, prior to your password expiration. And the way it works is if you do have your password expire, rather than just being locked out, what you're going to do is it's just going to force you to basically do it after your password expired upon logging in, rather than just saying you can't get in. It's going to force you through the process of resetting your password. And then below, we talked about the forgot your password and forgot your ID already, so I won't belabor that any further. User guide and training videos. User guide, when you add the navigation menu I talked about, that is on all the pages on the dashboard. There's a help button. If you click the help button, a very helpful user guide pops up. You can print that out and look it over if you want. Keep it around for people to reference. Or if you're stuck on an issue as to how a feature works, I would suggest you click on that help button in the navigation menu and look at the user guide. There's also training videos which go over a lot of what we covered today. If we went too fast about anything, or if you just want to get more detail about something, there's a link on the next slide that'll show you how to get to those. So these are the useful links. At this point, I'm going to leave those on the screen for a while so that anyone can make a note of those that want. But I think we've covered everything here, unless there's anything else on our side here. I think we're going to turn that back over to CMA.
Thank you so much, guys. Like you said, we're going to move on to our question and answer section. We've got a ton of questions, so we're going to try and get through as many as we can. But I do apologize in advance if we don't get to yours. Our first question is, my application has been denied. What are my next steps?
So if your application is denied, the first step would be, Emer mentioned earlier that when you get the confirmation page, after you've gone through the application process, you want to print that for your records. And the reason that's helpful is when your application is denied, it's typically one of two things. Either something you entered on your side just isn't matching DCA or DEA records, or could have been a typo. Perhaps you entered the wrong license type, any number of things like that. So the first thing would be to go back and and take a look at your application confirmation page, which will show information you entered, and just double check that from your side, nothing was entered incorrectly. If everything matches perfectly, then the next step would be to reach out to, if everything on your side is right, the question is perhaps something the licensing board has for you is going to be a problem. Ultimately, because we're doing an automatic vetting and validation cycle, the information you enter on the application page must exactly match what DEA and DC and your licensing board has on file for you. So the next step, if your stuff's correct, would be to contact the licensing board, and you need to make sure that the information they have on file for you is correct. Sometimes they have a wrong date of birth, sometimes they have a wrong social security number. And so that's really the next step. And if after both those steps you can reach out to us, or you can reach out to us prior to that, but if you want to do a little troubleshooting to try to identify the problem ahead of time, which would be helpful, those would be the two steps. We find most of the time it might be a wrong license type or something like that, and the user identifies it pretty quickly. They can contact us, or actually they can, at that point, just reapply, which is even easier, and correct it, and then they can just stop right there and they'll be approved and it's no problem. But if they continue to have problems, or the DCA's records are accurate and their information is accurate, they can reach out to us and we'll troubleshoot the issue and help them get to the process to an approval.
Thanks so much. Our next question is, one of the questions on the forms asks for my license type, A, C, or G. How do I determine my license type?
Yeah, so Emer touched on it earlier, but the easiest way to do it would just be when you've got your license wallet card, it's going to typically have A and a series of numbers, or G and a series of numbers, or C and a series of numbers. That letter preceding your license number reflects your license type. And so the best thing to do is just pull that card out, and if you see an A, it's an A. If you see a G, it's a G. That's your license type. That's the short answer of it.
Thanks so much. Our next question is, will I get some warning via email when my password will expire soon? Yes, you will. You will receive, I believe, at least one, perhaps two, as I recall, warnings that your password is going to be expiring. As I noted, though, were you even not to take notice of those, once it's actually expired, when you log in, the system's just going to force you through a change password process. And so that's going to be a way to handle it. But you should get one or two emails. I believe one is at least 30. You'll get one that's 30 days prior, 5 days prior, and 1 day prior to expiration. So you should have plenty of advance notice that your password's about to expire.
And Austin, also, if you sign into CURES, your dashboard will also give you a notice that your expiration is
excellent. Yes,
coming up.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, I'm locked out of the system. Help.
Yeah, so the process here would be something we talked about a minute ago. If you're locked out of the system, the issue may be, it really depends on what the issue is. If you don't know your user ID or password, the best bet would be to follow those self-help process I showed you from the login page. Forgot my user ID or forgot my password. If you enter your user ID or password, I think it's 6 times incorrectly as a security measure, the system will disable your account at that point. And the best thing to do at that time would be to reach out to us. We can re-enable it, and we can also provide you with a temporary password. And then once you go in with that, you'll set up your own you'll set up your own unique password. You want to Oh, okay. And let me screen forward there. There's our contact information for anyone who doesn't have it. That would be the way to reach out to us if you got locked out after more than 6 attempts at logging in, or for any other reason.
Thanks. Okay, our next question is, does one need to register for CURES if I'm licensed as a physician in California but residing and not practicing in the state of California?
So if this is a physician who is licensed in California and has a DEA registration that authorizes them to prescribe in California, then they're going to be required to register regardless of the particular details of where they are and what they're doing.
Okay, our next question is, I've tried contacting the help desk and cannot get through. How can I get assistance?
We have unfortunately a real high volume of calls and emails coming in right now, and we're just having to process those as quickly as possible. We're trying to get back as fast as we can to each person via telephone or via email, and we're trying to answer those calls as quickly as they come in. People are normal business hours. People are on the phone all day long addressing this, and we're doing our very best. So we just ask that folks be patient. And we're adding more people to try to address that high call volume as well. So I think that will help ameliorate the problem a little bit.
We do answer all emails in order.
Yes, we do answer all emails in the order in which they're received. So those are being addressed, and we're working through those as quickly as we can.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, do current CURES 1.0 users need to reapply for CURES 2.0?
No. CURES 1.0 approved users, active users, will be automatically migrated into the CURES 2.0 system. There's no need to re-register if you're a CURES 1.0 user.
Thank you. I get an error message when I click the link to the registration and/or pre-registration form. What should I do?
Yeah, I mentioned, well, without more information, it's hard to give an entirely definitive answer to that. But if we were to take a guess at what's happening there, I think the registration problem, Mike noted earlier that you can use the system regardless of whether you have an older browser or a new browser. It'll just send you either to CURES 1.0 or CURES 2.0. The registration process, on the other hand, requires a contemporaneous browser, one of the browsers that Mike listed. And so what might be happening here is we may have individuals, and I've seen this happen, where you actually have a contemporary browser and you have an older browser, let's say an older IE browser, but you also have, for example, Chrome. And the default browser is perhaps your older browser. And what happens in these cases a lot is that you get a link and you click the link so you can start the registration process, and a link will open in your default browser on your computer. And so without intending for it to go there, it will open there. And so a way in which we've addressed this with a number of people who have called is have them copy and paste the link and then open up their compliant browser, their Firefox, the Chrome, the Safari, and paste it into that address field at the very top. And we have found that addresses most of the problems people are having with the link.
Great. I know we gone over the time, but I know we also started a few minutes late, so I'm going to just try and fit in a couple more questions. The next one being, I have a nurse practitioner that works with me in my office. Does she have to register the same way as me?
The law requires that anybody who holds a California-issued license to prescribe and a drug enforcement registration certificate authorizing to prescribe narcotics, that those two licensures combined require you to register for access to CURES. So the responsibility is on the individual and not on an office setting.
Great, thank you. And I've got two more questions. The next one is, the correct answers to my security questions are not being accepted. Are the answers case sensitive?
No, they're not case sensitive. So if you're encountering that problem, I think the best thing you could do is contact us, and so we could help you. Go ahead, Austin. You have
I was just going to note, if the context in which this question is arising is in the registration process, then make sure to refer to the rules for for selecting answers in those questions. It may be that it's not being selected because it's not meeting the rules that are set forth there. This is something Emer looked through, but for example, I think it was mentioned, if that's your favorite pet, you can't put pet. It wouldn't accept that. If it's while you're trying to get through the forgot password process and you're being asked to answer your challenge questions, then we find most often an individual has understandably forgotten their security question answer, and the best thing to do at that point would be to contact us. We would create the we would create a new one for them, provide it to the user, and then they'd set up a new security question, they'd set up a new password when they logged in for the first time. Additional note, when they log in for the first time with a password we give them, the system interprets that as meaning they probably didn't know the answers to the security question answers. So it does ask them to update those security question answers to try to avoid a future situation where they'll have that same problem.
Great. And last but not least, what happens to those who have submitted a paper application but have not yet been granted access?
Simply be patient. We are migrating those over, and we will be addressing those within the next several weeks. And you should be hearing something to that email address you provided on your paper application.
That is a manual vetting process, so it's just it's very labor intensive. I'm working on getting those through, and I believe we anticipate having that all done in a couple months.
Oh, definitely, but it will take us a little bit of time. Also, you have the option, if you don't want to wait for that, nothing prevents you from utilizing the new automated registration process, because if we come across your application and you've already exploited the automated registration process and you got in, we will note that when we get to your app, and we'll simply discard it at that time, so because you obtained access.
Great. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have for today. Again, I'd like to thank the Department of Justice and our presenters for their time and for sharing their knowledge. And I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy day to join us for this presentation. Don't forget the registration deadline is July 1st of this year, 2016. And I again apologize for the technical difficulties. We have recorded this webinar though, and it will be available for viewing by tomorrow. I'll be sending out an email with the presentation link as soon as it becomes available. As soon as you close out of the webinar, a short survey will pop up. Please be sure to complete this survey in order to help us improve future webinars. Have a great day.